Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. There's huge news you probably just saw. Zack Snyder just announced that they're releasing Justice League, the Snyder Cut. It's a real thing, and it's going to be coming to HBO Max. So I'll explain all the details, what they're going to be changing, and how the Snyder Cut is different from the theatrical cut. So if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. Obviously, I will do a breakdown of the Snyder Cut when we actually get to watch it, because there are going to be so many different scenes and Easter eggs. We'll do a new Amazon giveaway. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and let me know in the comments what you want them to add back into the movie before they release it. So first things first, if you don't know what happened this morning, Zack Snyder was just doing a regular rewatch party for Man of Steel, just talking about behind the scenes details, what it was like to make the movie. Henry Cavill even Skyped in and was talking to him during the broadcast, answering questions, what his personal favorite parts of the movie were to film and what he really liked watching it. Because as Henry Cavill said while they were doing this rewatch party, it's been a long time since they filmed that, and he's actually ramping up to go back to do Witcher stuff. Zack Snyder debunked a couple of popular fan theories about Man of Steel, like the Aquaman theory, that Aquaman was the one to save Superman when he's passed out underwater. So there were some cool new details he revealed about Man of Steel, but the real reason everyone was hyped up about this rewatch party is because everyone believed that at the end of it, he would announce the Snyder Cut. But first thing he actually said was that it wasn't up to him to release it. I would have done it already if I could have. But then also was like, yeah, it's a real thing. We're going to be releasing it during 2021 next year. This is an official poster. As you can see, they're calling it Zack Snyder's Justice League. It's going to be available in 2021 at some point. And there were some people saying that there might be some minor reshoots. Because you may remember last year, Zack Snyder revealed that he did have an assembly cut of his version of Justice League, but what that means is that most of the special effects hadn't been finished, a lot of it was just temp footage that didn't look polished enough for an actual release. What's being reported is the studio spending about $20 million to bring all the actors back and then finish post-production and rescore the movie, and it'll either be a 4-hour single cut of the movie like a regular movie, or it'll be 6 one-hour installments. So you're either getting a 4-hour cut or you're getting a 6-hour cut technically. But it just depends on how they decide to release it. Either 6 installments or it's going to be one giant 4-hour chunk. Because it's going to take him about a year to finish that new cut of the movie, presumably he's going to be talking about the details and what kind of work he's doing throughout the rest of this year. Because a lot of that they can actually do remotely, even though the virus is still a big thing and a big problem for everyone. A couple years ago, he actually revealed what was in that Snyder Cut, what his original plan was for, so I'll break down all the Snyder Cut changes that we know about. I'll just number these as we go along. But the first big thing is that his original cut of the movie was closer to 3.5 hours. We're talking longer than Avengers Endgame. The theatrical cut was right around 2 hours. The studio claimed at the time that about 80% of that cut was still stuff that Zack Snyder had filmed, with Joss Whedon shooting about 20% new footage and reshoots. So mostly what they lost was a ton of extra storylines. We're talking about an hour and a half worth of footage, so think about how much stuff happened during that. That's like a whole other movie inside the movie. A lot of the big fight scenes went down very differently. The color of the movie was very different. Remember how we went from the first trailer to the last trailer and how the tone of the film, the complete coloring, the backgrounds, all seemed like they changed from start to finish. Like, wait a minute, why is everything changing color? There was a ton more Superman Henry Cavill stuff, a ton more Aquaman Atlantis stuff, more Batman stuff, more Wonder Woman the Amazons backstory, a ton more Cyborg scenes, a ton more Star Labs and the Flash, and a ton more Darkseid backstory with some other subplots. So for example, at the very beginning of the movie, there was no weird Superman cell phone intro, and Superman didn't have to have his mustache removed with bad special effects, so it actually looked like Henry Cavill. Like this scene here is Zack Snyder Henry Cavill footage. This scene is stuff they did during the reshoots with the bad CGI mustache stuff. Originally, the movie opened with Batman and the Parademons learning about Darkseid's plans and the other newer Justice League members each getting extended intros and backstories before they all came together. So like what we saw during that original trailer from Comic-Con in 2016 with the extended scene of Batman trying to recruit Aquaman went down completely differently than the scene we saw in the theatrical cut. Probably the biggest part of the movie that changed, though, was Henry Cavill's Superman storyline. They completely changed what was going on with Superman in the movie. Remember the scene of Black Suit Superman? That was part of that. Originally, what was going to happen is that Superman is resurrected by the Mother Box, but it's Steppenwolf and Darkseid that bring him back Pet Sematary style, and early on in the movie there was a lot more evil, angry Superman versus the fledgling Justice League. We got a little of that during this big fight scene here, but imagine this times 10 for a lot longer in the early parts of the film. And while this is all happening, Superman was still wearing the black suit. Remember all the black suit Superman stuff that we felt like we were promised but then never got? That was a big part of Zack Snyder's Justice League. They made a much bigger deal of Steppenwolf's Mother Box storyline. The real reason in the original cut that he was trying to combine all those Mother Boxes is because the cosmic soul of his mother was trapped inside all 3 boxes. He wanted to free her and then take her cosmic power, using it to defeat Darkseid and take Apokolips for himself. That's why he kept referring to Mother when he was talking to the Mother Boxes, if you thought that was weird. It's because his actual mother was trapped inside the Mother Boxes. There was way more stuff going on with Darkseid's history in the universe. Steppenwolf had been exiled by Darkseid eons ago, so taking all the Mother Boxes on Earth was Steppenwolf's play to get back at Darkseid. The major flashback fight with the combined forces of the Amazons, the Greek gods, the Atlanteans, and the humans was supposed to be a fight against Darkseid instead of Steppenwolf. Originally, there were going to be 3 Justice League movies, and a lot of the deleted scenes that Zack Snyder filmed or was going to film before he left the film were in service of setting up storylines that would pay off in the sequels. There were a ton more scenes setting up Green Lantern in the concept of the Green Lantern Corps too, which we would have seen more of in the sequels. Remember this scene of Superman meeting Alfred, "You must be Alfred." Originally, when they were still doing a trilogy of movies, this was going to be Hal Jordan's Green Lantern showing up. Before Zack Snyder left the project and the studio had changed things again, it wound up being changed to Superman showing up, and eventually in the theatrical cut, the scene was removed completely. So there would have been some Green Lantern Hal Jordan in the first Justice League movie, but just a little bit. In the theatrical cut, they wound up combining all this power plant stuff with Steppenwolf's base in those scenes. Originally, those weren't meant to be the same location. Steppenwolf's base was separate from where this big power plant was happening. This family is something that Joss Whedon added during the reshoots. Lois Lane was a bigger part of the film early on, but her storyline was radically different. So originally what was going to happen is that in one of the timelines, Darkseid was going to show up and kill Lois Lane, helping turn Superman to the dark side using the anti-life equation, sort of bringing about Batman's Knightmare vision to pass. So way darker Lois Lane stuff going on. When Aquaman went back to Atlantis to get his armor and his mother's trident, there was a lot more scenes with him talking to Vulko and Mira, setting up the Aquaman spin-off movie, explaining more about why he hated Atlantis so much and why the Atlanteans didn't like him. And at the end of the movie, when the Justice League are fighting Steppenwolf, he was always going to be the main villain of the first Justice League movie, but there's that scene of Superman with him at the Fortress of Solitude, the downed Kryptonian ship, switching back to his classic red and blue suit. The cool thing here is that you actually get to see the Warframe from the comics. This is what the black suit actually looked like. Superman joins them, they defeat Steppenwolf together with a little assist from Green Lantern, and then Steppenwolf gets sucked back to Apokolips through the boom tube, where Darkseid winds up killing him later, but the Justice League are able to see Darkseid's face from the other end staring back at them, meant to be a teaser for Justice League 2, where the plot started to turn more into what we saw during the animated Justice League Apokolips War movie. If you didn't see that animated movie, they released it just a little while ago. I did a whole video on it, so I'll link that at the end of this. But the plot of that played out a lot like Zack Snyder's original plans when Justice League was going to be a trilogy of movies. It's a much bigger, much more epic, much darker film. But after the Justice League learns about the threat of Darkseid, they wind up going to Apokolips, getting their asses handed to them by Darkseid. Darkseid conquers Earth, enslaving Superman using the anti-life equation, and at the end of the movie, it would have been very similar to the ending of Avengers Infinity War with the snap. All hope is lost. The world has been conquered. Now, the Snyder cut that they're releasing next year on HBO Max won't have all of that stuff, because that was when it was still going to be a trilogy. There will be way more deleted scenes with all the characters though, so it should be pretty fun to check out, but I'm not expecting it to be released till next spring at the earliest. But everyone post your reactions in the comments below, let me know what you want them to add back in if you know about some of the deleted scenes that they cut. And everyone click here for my big video on Justice League Apokolips War and the ending of that movie, and then click here for my breakdown of the Batman teaser trailer. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, I'll see you guys tonight.